I'm Evelyn Kimber with the Boston Vegetarian Society, and here is my friend and BVS colleague,
David Havlick. Good evening, everybody.
David is our person who can do anything, so he's handling the tech aspects of the Zoom meeting today. And it has been so much fun planning this event with Angela Hoffman from Newsli in Cambridge on Mass Ave. And it's been a delight to get to know her better. We've actually been acquainted for a number of years. We had a lot of fun last night. David and Angela and I spent an hour hoping, to get the cameras and the sound right so that everything goes smoothly with our class. Angela surprised us too that she's going to have a nice discount for those people who attend today's class. So she'll tell us about that at the end of the instruction. During the class, you will be muted, but you'll be able to type your questions into chat. And I will try to ask your questions of Angela. Now these, because there's so many people, and we want to fit in all the instruction within the 45 minutes as promised, please make them questions that just have short answers. Nothing that Angela would need to expound upon. And then maybe those that require longer answers we can do at the end when we have the open conversation part. So I'll get to as many questions as possible. Angela's assistant, Jen, will be popping in and out of the background and foreground from time to time. Thank you, Jen, for your help tonight. And let's get started with Angela Hoffman from Newsli.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm so excited that you're able to make it here. Thank you to Evelyn and David for doing this with me. And thank you to Jen. So excited to get started. So just an overview of the night. We're going to be working on 3 different recipes. We're going to start with a really nice sweet pea dip. And then we're going to move on to the cashew cream, which I know a lot of you are anxiously awaiting that one. I saw on my notes, Instagram. And then we're going to do the vegan crab cake. So to start, our sweet pea dip. And Jen has beautifully laid out all of our ingredients here, just so you can see what we're going to be including. We have really nice lemon zest and lemon juice, a shallot, extra virgin olive oil, Himalayan salt, a lemon pepper, mint, sage, and the peas. So David, why don't you just give everybody a quick zoom in on our ingredients. I love cooking with fresh herbs. They're so beautiful, and this really is the time of year to plant them. Peas are really great. If you can find fresh ones, if you can't, frozen works just as well in this recipe. So we'll put everything into our food processor. So in goes the peas. And Jen, if you'll hand me a spatula, that would be great. Thanks so much. Okay, so the peas will go in first. And then I'll add our lemon juice. And lemon juice is really nice because not only does it add brightness to the recipe, it also keeps everything green and fresh. So when you lay it out on your board, which you'll do in just a minute, it'll just keep everything nice and green. It'll keep it from browning, which is nice. Then we'll add our shallots for a little bit of that nice oniony flavor. Our extra virgin olive oil will go in. Our little bit of salt. Oops. We did this a while ago, so, and it's warm in here, so all the spices have picked up the moisture. And then sage. Thank you for getting that together. And then mint. And mint is really nice. Mint, I learned, is actually very similar to ginger in its anti-inflammatory properties and also to help digestion. So if you plant mint in your garden, just make sure you keep it in a container because it can become very invasive. And Jen, why don't you just get a shot in there of all the nice herbs and spices. Can everyone see? Yeah, there you go. Okay. And then we're just gonna Jen, will you plug us in? Thank you. So just going to give this a quick whirl and you'll see how fast this comes together. And that's it. So fast. And Jen can take another quick photo of or image in there. You can see how nice and bright it is. It makes such a nice addition to your cheese board, which will just take a little bit out. Here, I'm going to hand that to you. And then we'll just put a little bit into our you can see how bright and green it is. Normally I taste everything before I put it out, but because we're doing a demo, I'm just gonna put it in so you can see the final product. Oops. And I like to use this instead of hummus. It's just a really nice change. Pea actually has a really nice source of protein. A cup of peas is actually the same amount of protein as an egg. So it's a really nice source instead of chickpeas to have a nice springtime dip. So Jen can show the board all set up.
Have our nice sprouted almonds.
Yep. And we have olives, cherry tomatoes, some cucumber and carrot, and some grapes.
Oh, you can use anything.
Yep. Yeah. Any nice vegetable, any nuts can go on a cheese board, and you can use this at parties. I sometimes just eat this as my dinner, which is really nice. It's, got your nice proteins, a wide variety of vegetables. It's just a really nice way to treat yourself. A little glass of wine and you're all set. So next we're going to do our cashew cheese. And that is going to be a ingredient that goes into our crab cakes. And so Jen is going to get the board with all of our cashew cheese ingredients. So if you don't have a Vitamix, which I have here, it's really nice to soak your cashews before you put them in your blender. This is a really high-speed blender and it gets everything nice and creamy. Cashews are a pretty soft nut. So if you soak it for about 4 hours, they just soak up the water and get really nice and creamy. Also, the nice thing about soaking your nuts and seeds, or we call it sprouting, is it activates the enzymes in your nuts, and those enzymes help you digest your food. It also makes the nutrients in the nuts more bioavailable. So I highly recommend soaking, even if you use the Vitamix, for that extra bit of nutrition. So we did 1 cup of cashews. Oh, and I forgot, Jen, show everybody the board. Just pretend there's still cashews in there, just so you can see the beautiful colors, all the different shades of yellow from our lemon juice, nutritional yeast. We have a little bit of garlic, extra virgin olive oil. Even though the nuts have a lot of oil in them, it's nice. The olive oil just gives it that extra layer of velvetyness, which I really love. But you can skip the olive oil if you're on an oil-free diet, which I know some people are. And did I say onion powder? Onion powder, Himalayan salt again, always Himalayan. I love it for all the minerals. And then the lemon pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of those ingredients into the Vitamix. And again, everything is sort of sticking because of the humidity in here. Jen, can you get me a spoon? Thanks.
Angela, Pam asked, and she asked us a couple of moments ago, how long does it keep in the fridge? And I'm not sure exactly which it she's referring to.
Well, I would say for the sweet pea or for the cashew, well, the sweet pea, I would just leave a week. The cashew cream is a little bit different because it does have that lemon in it. It can last for a little bit more than 7 days. But the nice thing about the cashew cream is it freezes really, really nicely. So you can actually put it in your freezer and take it out. And I do that. Well, I go through mine so fast. It never ends up in the freezer, but you can freeze it. So then the extra virgin olive oil, the onion powder, the ginger, the salt, and the pepper. And then Jen's gonna give me some water. And with the water, I don't know what the recipe says, but what I really like to do is, depending upon what you're making, I will put in enough water. If you want it really thick, just up to the line of the nuts. If you want it a little bit thinner, if you want a nice thin cream, you might want to put a little bit more water in it. And if you want more of what's that, cream cheese, like a really dense cream, you would put a little bit less water in. So depending upon, and if you want milk, cashew milk, obviously you wouldn't put the spices in, but for a cup of cashews, you would put in about 3 cups of water to get yourself a really nice cashew milk. And cashews make a really nice milk because, again, they're so soft and they have all the fat in them. So it just makes a really nice milk. So I like the cashews for the milk as well. So I'm not going to blend this all the way because, as you might not hear it, but we hear it here. The Vitamix is incredibly loud. So I'm just going to turn it on just so you get a sense. So I would actually let that go for a good minute to minute and a half to get it really creamy. And Jen's gonna take a nice shot just so you can, whoops, we have some, I think that's mint. There's some mint on that. But just so you can see the creaminess, and I'll just take my spoon so you can see how incredibly creamy that is. And it's great on sandwiches. It's great if you just want to eat it with a cracker. It's a really, really nice blend. So next we're going to make our tartar sauce. And our tartar sauce is made with the cashew cream, with pickles, with capers, and with onions. And I did want to say one thing about the pickles. So pickles are made by fermenting. And if you use, Jen's actually in the back refrigerator getting us, I just wanted to give a little plug. I hope, Evelyn, you don't mind. But I really love real pickles. They're actually based here in New England, and they do a natural fermenting of both their sauerkraut and their pickles. And the wonderful thing about fermenting is it really creates the probiotics that help with your gut health. With natural fermenting, you get about 28 strains of bacteria. And in a probiotic, you might get 1 to 9 strains. And all those different strains do different things. And scientists are still learning about the gut and your gut flora. So I say as many different strains as you can, if you can find the naturally fermented and raw pickles and sauerkraut, it's really the way to go for your health. So we're going to make our tartar sauce. So we're going to add the pickles in.
Angela, back on the cashew, we have a question. If I am allergic to cashews, is there a substitute? From Joe.
Yes. Honestly, I've done it with pine nuts, with sunflower seeds, with a combination of sunflower and pumpkin seed. I haven't tried it with almonds. I'm afraid that the almonds might be a little bit too hard, right, Jen? I think almonds might be something that's a little bit too tough, but I love sunflowers and pumpkin seeds, and you can actually mix all three with the pine nuts, and the pine nuts have that like underlying like sort of cheesy flavor to it. So yeah, you can definitely substitute nuts in the cashew cheese. And actually my son is allergic to nuts. So when he was at home, he's off now in DC, but when he was home, I would make sunflower seed quite often. So.
And Deborah asked, she didn't catch the brand of pickles.
Oh, let me get those again. And, you know, you can find real pickles almost anywhere. And Jen will get a shot of it so you can see. David, do you want to give Jen the screen so everybody can see that? There you go. Just so you see. And again, you can see they're certified organic. They're right here in Massachusetts. They do an outstanding job. And I really love these pickles, the one with the garlic. But if you don't like garlic, if you're trying to stay away, they do have one without. Okay, great, thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the pickles. You can see, maybe David, you can keep the camera on so people can see how finely I chop things. If you can, there you go. So the pickles, you can see they're fairly finely chopped. The capers, again, really nicely chopped. The onions, we love onions, and again, nicely chopped. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of the cream. And mix that in.
Back to
And I like my tartar sauce really chunky. So if you like a little bit more of the cashew cream, you can definitely change it up as you like it flavored. But I love the pickles and the onions, so I'm gonna leave it like that. So there you go, our tartar sauce. Okay. And then Jen, if you'll clear that away, that would be great.
And back on the cashew cream substitutes, Linda and Deborah mentioned that macadamia nuts may work well and walnuts may work well as too.
Ooh, walnuts, that sounds like a great one. I would love to try that. There you go. Okay, and then next for our final recipe, we're gonna do the crab cakes. We actually have a few components to the crab cakes. And I'm just gonna grab the bowl over here. Yes. Okay, and then if you wanna grab me another big spoon, that would be great so I can stir with that. So our crab cakes have a lot of different components or ingredients to the recipe. I actually, oh, and I'll let Jen get the spoon. And then David, if you want to, again, highlight the ingredients as I walk through them, that would be great. Okay, so I have our artichoke hearts that have been shredded. And just so you can see the shred that I gave it, I'm just going to mix it up a little bit so you can actually see. It doesn't take that long in a food processor, just like about 2 or 3 pulses. The artichokes are really soft, so it doesn't take long at all. And then I have here, I have heart of palm, but you can actually use jackfruit. And I just want to make a little side note that the heart of palm that I used is from native forest. And Jen, if you just want to highlight that. And it does say that it's rainforest friendly. So hopefully they haven't destroyed the rainforest in harvesting this. And you can see again, the shred is just really, you know, it's nice and chunky. This took about maybe 15 pulses to get it to this texture. And also I wanted to note, I was gonna run out and buy jackfruit, which is a great substitute. So you can use jackfruit instead of the heart of palm if you want. And then we have onions, green onions, parsley, a little bit of jalapeno if you like it spicy. And then we have paprika, Himalayan salt, ginger, mustard, and the pepper. And then last but not least, we have our quinoa. And I'm just going to show you that. And just so you know, that this is a traditional Japanese rice cooker. And it also does a really nice job with quinoa. And this is on my stovetop. It doesn't leave. I cook with it anytime I'm doing rice. I quinoa at least a couple of times a week. And you can see it just makes a really nice fluffy quinoa.
Angela, Barbara asks, if jackfruit is used, do you boil it?
I would heat it up just a little bit. I don't know if I would boil it or just put it in the frying pan for about 5 minutes just to soften it up. And then I would put it in the food processor. But just so you know, that I've been experimenting with jackfruit a lot, and I did find a shredded jackfruit. Although I have to say my favorite jackfruit is a jackfruit that's in a can and it's brined. That makes, so far for me, the best flavor and texture, because I can shred it up as much as I want or as little as I want. So if I'm making like a taco salad, I can shred it just a little bit less. And if I'm making a crab cake, then I would shred it up a little bit more. So it just depends on what you're cooking. So I'm gonna go ahead and add all of these ingredients into the. So first goes in our really nice quinoa. You can see I was on the phone. There's a couple of black or brown spots in there, but just ignore those. And then goes in our either jackfruit, and you can see there's about 50, well, you have the recipe, so I won't talk about that. Then our artichokes.
Yvonne's son is allergic to quinoa. Is there a substitute for that?
Ooh, so yes, I would say amaranth is a good substitute. I've not tried teff. I think it might be a little bit too small. If you're looking for a gluten-free, so a gluten-free substitute. Also, buckwheat could be interesting in here instead of quinoa. Can you think of any others, Jen?
Yeah, that sounds millet maybe, but
Yeah, I was thinking millet, but it has a stronger
yeah,
flavor. So that's why I was thinking, but if you like the flavor of millet, millet could also be a really nice substitute. So the onions, then I think I can just pour the rest in. Green onions, the parsley, the jalapeno, and obviously if you don't like jalapeno, if it's too strong, you can skip that. Paprika, salt. Oops, I want to get all that salt. Mustard and pepper. And as you can see, that's going to make a lot of crab cake. But what's really nice about the crab cakes is you can freeze them if you don't have a large crowd to feed. And I actually froze them last summer and I took them down. We sort of sequestered down on Cape Cod, and it was really nice to be able to have these in the freezer and just heat them up when we were ready to eat. It makes a really nice sandwich. So I'm just going to mix that all together. And we can smell, I wish you guys could smell how nice it smells with all the herbs and spices. It's really a nice smell in here. Oops, getting a little messy. So, and I don't measure a lot. I often just cook by eye. And what's really nice about most of these recipes is you can do substitution. So if you don't have something in your house, like this recipe calls for celery salt, we didn't have any celery salt in the kitchen, so I just skipped it. And it's going to taste great. And if you want to add, you know, a little bit of thyme, if you have that in your garden, that's a really nice addition to the crab cake. If you have bay leaf, you can actually put the bay leaf in a coffee grinder and grind it up, and that makes a really nice, spice in here as well. So I think that looks really good. So how I can tell that it looks really good is if I push it up against the wall, it holds there. So I know when I put it into my hands, it's going to be a little bit messy, but I know it'll hold together. And it's not too wet, you can see. So it looks just perfect to me. Don't ask me how I know, but well, I know. Don't ask me how I guessed just that much would make this perfect crab cake consistency, but it did. So yay for me. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make the crumb or the topping, I guess, for the crab cakes. And I do this because it gives, when you put it in the oven, or if you have an air fryer, even better, it'll give it a nice crunchy outside, and the inside will stay nice and moist and tender, which is what you want in a crab cake. So I'm gonna I took Brazil nuts. Again, I think I said cashews. I actually said soaked cashews in the recipe readout. You don't want to soak the cashews for this. You want them to get nice and crunchy in the oven. So do you want to just hand me another spoon? I think there's one over on the, I hope, or maybe one in there. That's good. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of the, so obviously I pulsed the nuts, and you can see, I don't know, oh good, you can, I hope everybody can see how finely I pulsed the nuts, just to give a nice coating. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the pepper flakes. You can tell I like a little bit of heat between the jalapenos, the onions, and now the pepper flakes on top. And again, you can skip the pepper flakes if you don't want, but I think it looks pretty and it adds that little bit of heat. And then I'm just going to take a little pinch of salt. Oh, unfortunately, I don't think you can see that, but it was just like, I'll just show you so you can see, it was like this much. So just a little bit. And then I'm just going to mix it together with my hands so you can see what it looks like. Even that just looks really pretty. And then I'm going to take a third of a cup. So Jen's going to grab me the third of a cup. Sorry about the black screen. Don't worry, you'll be all set there in a second. So Jen, if you want to just grab that again. So I like to make my crab cakes about a third of a cup. I just feel like it's a nice size. It fits in your hands really nicely. So I just make a little patty out of it. And then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to first do the one side, then the other side. And then you don't have to do this, but I actually like to do the edges as well. So you end up with a nice cake just like that. And then you can put them in the freezer just like that, or you can cook them and then put them in the freezer. And I'm gonna go and wash my hands because they're a mess. Okay, great, just a second. We didn't practice this part, so sorry. Hi. a nice close up with my face. Okay, and then I'm gonna get behind you. Okay, great. Okay, so then the other thing, a couple of things that we made that are really easy to make as sides. So you can see. Sorry about that. So we made a really nice pickled vegetable. We started with onions, cabbage, and carrots. Filled a mason jar. Put a little pinch of salt at the top, and then did 50-50 of maple syrup and apple cider vinegar. And again, the apple cider vinegar that I use is raw, and it's from Bragg's, and it is naturally fermented. So you get, again, all those probiotics. And then you can see the beautiful slaw that's mixed up in the bowl. Where's the onion bread? Oh. And then we also have our onion bread. And the onion bread I make every so often. It's made with onions, flaxseed, sunflower seed, and it's a little bit more complicated, so I won't describe how to make it. But it's a really nice raw vegan onion bread. So we're just gonna put that in the plate. And then, oh, and here's the already prepared crab cake. So you can see there it is cooked, there it is uncooked. So you can see it gets a little bit brown and it has a nice crust on it, which I love. So I guess I'll go like this. Excuse the hands. And then, of course, I'm gonna add the tartar sauce to it. And I'm gonna put a good amount of the tartar sauce. Like that. You get a lot of tartar sauce because I love it. And then put the top on. And then you can put a really nice vegetables next to it. The carrot and the cabbage are so beautiful. I love the color. Sorry about the spill there. Jen will help me pick it up. There you go, and maybe one more. There. And there you have your really nice summertime meal. Okay.
I'm excited to eat this in a little bit.
Yeah, we will be eating these as soon as we hang up with you. So I think, Evelyn, we can open it up to questions if people have them out there.
Yes. People just praising you, beautifully done. People saying they didn't know that you that you were in Cambridge, and so happy to know about you now. And just praise and appreciation.
There are a couple questions in the chat. One person asked, what if it doesn't stick together enough? And another person asked, how long do you ferment the veggies?
So one question was on the fermented vegetables. So I leave it fermenting. It depends on how sour you want it to get. You can leave it anywhere from an hour to 24 hours. So obviously 24 hours is going to be very kind of vinegary, and an hour is going to be really mild. But it doesn't take long at all for the flavors to start to meld with the vegetables. So you can experiment, and my favorite is about 4 to 6 hours. So that's for the vegetables. And then David, the other question?
Yep, the other question, I forgot now. It was, what if the crab cake does not stick together well enough? Is there anything you could do?
Yes. So if the crab cake doesn't stick well together, it just means that you didn't put enough of the cashew cream on. So obviously, the more cashew cream you put on, the more it'll stick together until it doesn't, until it gets so soupy that it just is going to be a mess everywhere. So you sort of have to, if depending upon what grain you're using or seed you're using, like if you used quinoa, I think quinoa is a little bit more absorbent, or buckwheat, as opposed to amaranth, which is really tiny and it's not going to absorb that liquid as much, or the cream as much. So depending upon the grain, you might want to go easy and add as you see it coming together. So I hope that answers that question.
You know, I see there are a number of other questions here in chat. So let me just sort of rattle off a few. Someone says, this sounds like a perfect menu for a spring luncheon. Could you suggest a soup to pair with this?
Oh, Jen, what do you think?
I would say the carrot ginger would go.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. So great minds think alike. We were both thinking a really nice carrot ginger soup would be good,
Which you can do raw.
which you can do raw. So just know, if you have a Vitamix, I do about 2/3 of vegetables, so carrot, maybe a little bit of green apple, ginger, about a cup of cashews, and then fill to cover the vegetables with water, and you generally get a really nice consistency. If you're doing the olive oil, if you're doing oil in your diet, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil gives it, again, that velvety creaminess that you might be looking for in a soup.
Sarah asks, how long do you ferment the veggies?
So I personally like about 4 hours to 6 hours, but you know, the longer it goes, the more sour your vegetables will be. The less time you do it, you'll get more of the flavor of the vegetables and less of that apple cider vinegar flavor.
So CJ asks, can you use an immersion blender for cashew cream if you don't have a Vitamix?
I've used immersion blenders for soups, and it never gets as creamy as a Vitamix. So you won't, it'll be a little bit chunkier. You can do that, but it's never going to be as creamy. And in fact, in the crab cake recipe, I don't think you really need that super creaminess, but I think for like the tartar sauce, you might, because you want that textural difference. But in here, I think in the crab cake, you probably could get away with the immersion blender, but it's never going to be as creamy.
Gloria asks, can you use the cashew sauce for mac and cheese? And she says, great lesson with 3 exclamation points.
Great, thank you. And yes, I do mac and cheese, and it is awesome. Just use a little bit more nutritional yeast. If you want that like yellow cheesy color, a little bit of turmeric in there, a few more spices, and yes, it makes a wonderful, wonderful cheese for mac and cheese, as Jen knows too. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Michael asks, did you use any kelp or seaweed?
That's a really good suggestion in the crab cake, and I think we might be doing that. That's an awesome idea. And seaweed is such a great source of minerals. So yeah, definitely.
And Debbie asks, and Debbie, if you're the Debbie Bloom that I know from way back, we've got to get in touch after this class. I saw your name pop up and wow. Could you instead make this into a salad?
Absolutely. Before class, we made one and we were just eating it just out of the pot. So good. So good.
And by the way, it was the right Debbie Bloom. So this is very exciting.
A little reunion.
She was our board member and then she moved to the Carolinas. Wow, I love it when people stay in touch with us over the decades.
Yeah.
Thank you for your kindness and generosity. Just a lot of really lovely, lovely comments here.
You're
Here's
all
an
so welcome. I really love it's part of why I'm here is because I love sharing all the information and great ingredients and nutritional benefits of plant-based foods. I love it. I love this. So thank you.
Nancy asks, do you ever use quinoa flakes to help with the binding of the patties?
You know, I've not used quinoa flakes, but I bet you could. But I wonder if they would get soggy. That would be my fear. I actually use puffed quinoa in some of my other recipes, but they're not as like creamy fluid as this. I'm afraid it would just soak up and get soggy, but it's worth a try.
Now, Pat says she didn't get the recipes. Pat, they were attached on the email that I sent today with the Zoom. So look at the bottom of that email for a link, an attachment. If you don't find it, just shoot us an email at info@bostonveg.org and I will send them to you. info@bostonveg.org.
And you know what? I think I'll post these on my website. There's a recipe link, and I will put all of these recipes on my website as well. So you can feel free to look back anytime. I'll just leave them up for the duration. So whatever that means.
Joan asks, can you just SE Penko? I'm not sure. Do you know what that means? Can you just SE?
use.
Oh, use Penko?
Yeah, could you use panko for the crust of the crab cake?
Oh, perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Just wouldn't be gluten-free, but
Yeah,
you don't need to be gluten-free.
exactly.
Nancy asks, do you rinse the hearts of palm and artichoke before using? They're usually
No.
fine.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Quite often they're in a little bit of brine. So like I know the artichokes came in a really nice brine with garlic and a few other things. So I wouldn't rinse them off. No.
Do not rinse them. Okay.
Yeah, but don't add the water. You know, make sure that you shake them off or, just press them with your hand a little bit so you don't add the extra liquid into your mix.
Someone asked earlier if you can use the cashew cream to make mac and cheese. And Susan now asks, can you use the cashew cream to make desserts?
Oh, yes. I make desserts with the cashew cream all the time instead of all the, herbs and spices and extra virgin olive oil. Switch it all out for cacao powder and vanilla and cinnamon and
Maple syrup.
a little maple syrup. Exactly, Jen. And you're good to go. You can make all kinds of puddings. In fact, that's what our puddings are made from, is the cashew cream, just a really thick cashew cream. And instead of extra virgin olive oil to give it that velvetyness, we use coconut oil. And you can buy your coconut oil either natural, it'll give it that coconut flavor, or you can buy it steamed. And I'm going to give another plug to Nutiva because they do a great job of steaming it without destroying the oil. So
Now, Ellen says that she makes a cashew cream, uses it in a vegan lasagna. Can you suggest other recipes using the cashew cream?
yeah, so I love the idea of the lasagna, the mac and cheese. I'm at a loss for what else you can use
Like
it
a
for.
fettuccine alfredo.
Yeah.
You can do a white pizza with it.
Oh, pizza! I love that idea as a nice cream on top. I often just use it, if I have a salad and I want to make like a ranch dressing, I'll just add some different flavors and just put it on my salad. I put it on my sandwiches all the time. I'll just take a dollop if I'm having soup, and it gives it kind of that creaminess, especially like butternut squash soup with a dollop of the cashew cream. It's so good.
Um, Joan says, would you share some of your uniqueness and inspirations from your restaurant? The food, the menus, the meals, any seasonal ideas? You seem so knowledgeable about nutrition and all things vegan.
Yeah, so my inspiration, I think, first comes from what's in season. Quite often, I'll go to the store, and Jen can attest to that. She'll be like, I'll go to the store, I'll go to the farmer's market, and Jen will be here working, and she'll be like, where is she? She's still not back yet. Because I'll be exploring the farmer's markets and seeing what's available and in season. So that's where I start. And I've done a fair amount of traveling. My husband's from Switzerland, and one of his best friends actually lives in the Philippines. So I was so lucky to be able to travel to a few different countries. And I definitely get some inspiration from my travels. And then I just come into the kitchen and just let my mind kind of go crazy. I was an architect in my previous life, and I think that really instilled in me the idea of trial and error because a lot of architecture is you map something out, you bring it to your client, and they're like, no, I think I want this, or I think I want that, and then you go back and you try again, and that's it's really a back and forth. And I took that sort of mentality into the kitchen, where I'm not traditionally trained. So for me, it's just a crazy experiment all the time. And I feel like I do have a good sense of flavor and taste and what goes together. So I really just have a lot of fun experimenting and coming up with menu ideas. I have lists of menu ideas that I just sit down and I'm like, oh, what should we do this week? And just ideas just come into my head. So yeah, I think a lot of it is informed by my travels. A lot of it is informed by seasonality, and a lot of it is really just experimentation and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Terrific, thank you. Sue asks if you use coconut a lot in your recipes because she's allergic to coconut, and can you order things without coconut?
So yeah, you can definitely use other things besides coconut. Is she talking about coconut oil or actually coconut, like shredded coconut?
Um, if you want to specify while you do that, we have a question. From Barbara, can you freeze cashew cream?
Absolutely. It freezes really nice. We freeze our cashew creams. Like I said, I'll bring home our puddings, and I'll put them in the freezer for me and my daughter to have desserts. So because it's so fatty, it actually freezes really nice. When you take it out, you still have that nice creamy texture. It doesn't like ice over or get funny like sometimes I think ice cream can. So yeah, it freezes really, really beautifully.
Marilyn suggests there's a fascination with your cashew cream I see here.
There is. I got so many comments today earlier that I can't wait to see that cashew cream being made.
Marilyn suggests using the cashew cream in an eggplant casserole.
Ooh. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Yeah, I actually made a vegan moussaka with the cashew cream. It was just fantastic.
Joan asks, how long would sunflower cream keep in the refrigerator?
I think again, 7 days max. That's generally considered a safe period of time for freshly prepared products. So, and what's nice about the cashew cream and probably the sunflower seed too is if you say go 8 or 9 days, you'll smell it. It'll be like, whew, you don't want to eat that.
The cream gets bubbles in it too when it goes bad. You can just tell.
You can tell when it goes bad. And as long as it smells good, give it just a teeny little taste. And if it tastes good, it's still good. Because 7 days is the guideline, but it can definitely go a little bit more. If you have a bad refrigerator and it doesn't keep temperature, it might be a few days less. So keep that in mind too.
I was
Not a
reading
bad refrigerator, just one that doesn't keep temp.
an article the other day on expiration dates and how they're misleading, and they lead to a lot of food waste, of good food being thrown out, that really your nose can tell you and your eyes can tell you when something has gone bad.
Exactly.
Especially with vegan food.
Yeah, especially with raw vegan food, especially.
Sarah asks if for the vegan crab cakes, how long do you bake them if you're not using an air fryer?
So for an air fryer, it's 10 minutes. If you're using the oven, we literally just made one. And I think that this is like really a nice time. And I actually had it at 350 for 25 minutes.
Pam wants to know if you can mention an air fryer model or brand that you love that is not huge.
Oh, that's not huge. Okay, so I love Breville. I have the Breville mixer here. I have the Breville air fryer at home. I have the Breville immersion blender. I'm like a kid in the candy store when it comes to appliances. But I don't know of any small ones. The Breville one that I have at home is probably about like this wide, and it's about this tall. It barely fits under the overhead cabinet.
Uh,
So I don't know. And I don't think I have a little Breville over here, but it doesn't do air frying. So I don't know.
Debbie says that she has a Cuisinart combination air fryer and toaster that she loves.
Okay. And hopefully it's small enough to fit into the other person's kitchen.
And Gloria says she bought an inexpensive Dash, D-A-S-H, at Bed Bath & Beyond for around $39, and she's surprised at how good it is.
Wow. That's fantastic.
The Dash is serving her well. And someone else, Robin has a small Dash from Amazon that is awesome for 1 or 2 people and has a small footprint.
Yeah, and I do have to say the Breville is pretty expensive, but you know, we're a family of 4 and we use it like almost every day. So
Yeah, Louis mentions Bavel. David, did I miss any questions?
I don't think so. There was one from way back that I just remember because I also thought it was so cool. Your rice cooker looks really cool. Is it like a earthenware thing or something? It just looks
no,
beautiful.
it is an earthenware, and I've had this probably for about 10 years, and you can see it's still in beautiful condition. I don't know. Here, let me so you can see it.
Yeah.
And it works great. Actually, my very first staff person recommended it, and I've used it ever since.
You don't know the brand, do you?
I have no idea. It's older than I can think
Okay.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, our plan was to open the mic and have people answer ask their questions directly, but everyone was very kind in typing them into chat, and I think we got through more that way. We're right up against our 8 o'clock closing time, and we got in all of the questions. Angela and Jen, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight, and just reading these comments from everyone expressing their appreciation, their gratitude, their praise. I love you guys, and saying that
Thank you.
so I hope everyone makes a stampede to Nusli.
Bye, bye. Thank you so much.
On Mass Ave.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What's your street number on Mass Ave?
2259. We're right next to Curio Spice, Urban Hearth, Yummy Thai, and Spindler Confections. We have a great little block here in North Cambridge. So I hope you'll come and support all of us.
Yes, and she also has weekly takeout dinners that you can order on her website. So check that out. And
Yes.
make sure you're on, if you somehow found out about this class, not through our email list, please sign up at bostonveg.org so that you can hear about our other events. It's a low volume list. This was an absolute joy. David, thank you for all of your technical expertise and being a joyful companion on this. And Angela and Jen, I just can't say enough. I'm going to use this new Zoom thing here and do this.
Yep.
And we'll say goodnight right on time at 8 o'clock. Good night, everyone.
Yes. Thank you so, so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.